Now, let's begin. The wind cut sharp across the faded parking lot of Carter's Gas and Convenience, hissing through brittle leaves and rattling the sign that hadn't lit up in years. Night had settled early over Falcon Ridge, Texas, and the temperature dipped low enough that even the regulars didn't linger outside. Jack Romer tugged his flannel jacket tighter as he stepped out of his pickup. The engine ticked and hissed behind him, still warm from the 10-hour shift at the steel yard. In his right hand, he held a gallon of milk slightly dented, and in his left, a small carton of eggs he prayed wouldn't break on the drive home. He wasn't thinking about anything except scrambled eggs, and maybe getting Cody to finish his book report without a bribe. Then he saw them. 2 little girls. They stood huddled near the door, half in shadow, half lit by the flickering neon open sign. The older one couldn't have been more than 8. The younger 6 maybe clutched her sister's coat sleeve with frost-bitten fingers, poking through wool gloves that had long since lost their mates. Jack's boots slowed on the concrete. The older girl pushed the door open, making the bell above jingle. The warmth from inside blasted outward for a second, carrying with it the smell of burnt coffee and stale jerky. Jack stepped in just behind them. They approached the counter, slowly past the beef sticks and peanut butter crackers, until the older one reached up and placed something on the counter, a single bent quarter. She cleared her throat, but her voice still trembled. "Excuse me, sir. I was wondering if we could buy some milk. I promise to pay the rest when I grow up." The cashier, Earl, mid-60s, pot-bellied and sour-faced, looked up from his magazine. He squinted, adjusted his glasses, and let out a short, humorless chuckle. "Kid, this ain't no fairy tale. You pay now, or you don't get nothin'. Move along." The younger girl flinched at his tone, stepping back. But the older one didn't move. Jack's hands tightened around the milk carton. There was something in the girl's eyes, something too old for her years. Not just hunger. Dignity. She wasn't begging. She was trying to make a deal. Jack stepped forward. "I'll take care of that," he said. Earl barely looked at him. "You sure?" Jack nodded. "And throw in some peanut butter crackers, too." The older girl turned, startled. "You don't have to. It's cold out," Jack said gently. "You girls have somewhere to go." The girl hesitated. "We're just walking." "It's okay." "Walking where?" She lowered her eyes. "Somewhere warm, I guess." Jack didn't move for a long second. Then he knelt to their level. "What's your name, Anna?" She motioned to her sister. "That's Lily." He glanced toward the cashier. "Put another blanket on that tab." "Earl." Earl raised a bushy eyebrow. "You starting a shelter now?" "Jack." "Maybe," Jack muttered, reaching for his wallet. "Maybe someone ought to." They sat in Jack's truck with the heater on full blast. Anna held the milk like a trophy. Lily had the crackers in her lap and kept glancing at Jack's dog-eared copy of Charlotte's Web in the console. Jack buckled himself in and turned slightly in his seat. "Where are your folks?" Anna stared out the window. "Mama's. Not feeling well." Jack didn't push. He'd heard that tone before, vague, guarded, designed to keep adults from asking more. He'd used it himself as a boy. "I have a couch," he said, "and some leftover chili. Just one night. Then we'll figure out what comes next." "Sound good?" Lily looked to her sister. Anna gave a small nod. Back home, Cody stood in the kitchen, bowl of cereal in hand, when Jack walked in with 2 strangers. Cody blinked. Dad?" Jack set the grocery bag down. "We've got company tonight." Cody stared at the girls. "Who are they?" "Just friends," Jack said. "They needed a warm place. We're gonna help until we figure things out." Anna straightened. "We can sleep on the floor." Jack shook his head. "You'll sleep in my room. I'll take the couch." That night, after the girls had showered and eaten, Jack sat on the porch with a beer in hand. The winter stars blinked overhead, and Max, the old mutt, lay curled by his boots. From inside, laughter trickled through the windows, Lily giggling at something Cody said. Jack let the sound wrap around him like a blanket. He pulled something from his coat pocket, the bent quarter Anna had left on the gas station counter. He ran his thumb over its edges, thinking. A promise made by a child with nothing but dignity. He wondered when the world had stopped listening to promises like that. He hadn't. Not tonight. And for the first time in a long while, Jack Reamer wasn't just surviving. He was choosing to believe again. Jack didn't sleep that night. Not really. The couch creaked under him as he shifted, staring at the ceiling fan that spun slowly in the dark. Outside, the wind picked up and rattled the windows, but inside all he could hear was the rhythmic breathing of 3 children. One his own, 2 still strangers, yet somehow already folded into the warmth of the house. Max lay at his feet, twitching now and then in a dream. Jack rubbed his eyes, sat up, and pulled the bent quarter from the coffee table. He hadn't told Anna he kept it. Something about it felt sacred. Not valuable, but sacred. A girl with nothing still offering to pay. What kind of world made a child believe she had to earn a cup of milk? He stood padded down the hallway to check on them. The door to his room was cracked open. Cody was curled up at the foot of the bed like a sentry. Lily slept with her thumb in her mouth. Anna lay still, her face toward the window, eyes open, tracking the shadows of branches swaying in the wind. Jack whispered, "You okay?" She didn't answer right away. Then softly, I couldn't sleep either. He stepped into the room, crouched beside the bed. "Anything I can do," Anna looked at him. "You don't have to be nice. We won't stay long." Jack blinked. Being nice isn't a limited time offer. She frowned, not understanding. He smiled gently. "You don't have to leave in the morning. Not unless you want to. I'm not in the habit of turning kids out into the cold." Anna's voice was careful. "People say that." At first, Jack didn't argue. He'd lived long enough to know trust took time. "Where's your mom?" he asked. Anna didn't speak for a while. "Then she died last Tuesday." Jack's throat tightened. "I'm sorry." "She had a stroke," Anna whispered. "In the motel. I tried to wake her. I called. I don't know who. No one came. I waited until I couldn't anymore. Then we left." Jack didn't speak. There was nothing to say that could fix that. She always said not to steal, even if we were hungry. So I made a promise. I wouldn't take anything. I'd ask, and pay it back someday. Jack swallowed hard. "That's a good promise. I don't know if I can keep it." "You already did." Anna turned to look at him fully now. "How because you had the courage to ask. You held on to your word even when you had every reason not to. That counts. It counts a lot." She didn't answer, but she didn't turn away either. And when he rose to leave, she whispered, "Good night." By morning, the mood had shifted. Cody had made toast, half burned, but proud of it. Lily giggled when Max licked jam off her fingers. Anna stayed quiet, eyes alert, analyzing every movement like a chess game. Jack called the local sheriff's office to report the situation by the book. He knew what came next. Child Protective Services would be notified. There'd be questions, procedures. He wasn't trying to hide them, but he also wasn't about to hand them over without understanding what they were walking into. He called Ellen Briggs. She was the school librarian, and more importantly, the kind of woman who remembered birthdays of kids she'd only met once. She'd been there when Jack's wife died. She'd brought soup when Cody had pneumonia. If anyone in town had a moral compass still intact, it was Ellen. "You found them at the gas station," she said, shocked. "2 little girls just wandering." "They weren't wandering," Jack said. "They were surviving. You think they'll let you keep them?" "They're not puppies, Ellen." She paused, then softened. "I know." "Sorry, that was a bad way to put it." Jack rubbed his forehead. "CPS will come, but I don't want them bounced around. They've already been through enough. I'll be there, she said, when they arrive. That afternoon, the knock on the door came sharp and punctual. Jack opened it to a woman in a crisp gray coat, clipboard in hand, no smile on her face. Janet Brooks, Family Services. Jack nodded. Jack Reamer. They shook hands briefly. I'm here in response to your call regarding 2 minors in your care. They're not in my care, not officially, but they're safe. Fed. Warm. Janet scanned the living room. Cody stood near the hallway watching. Lily peeked from behind the sofa. Anna stood between them, hands clasped tight. Janet's eyes flicked to Jack. Let's talk privately. He led her to the porch. The wind had died down, but the air still held a bite. I see you've got a minor record, she said, flipping papers. Jack's jaw tightened. From when I was 16, protecting my little sister from someone who should have never been in our house. Still, it's on record. It was a misdemeanor. Self-defense. I was cleared. You want the court docs? I have them, she said flatly. Still worth noting. Jack stared at her. You think I'd hurt them? I think it's my job to ask questions before I make that call. There was silence between them. Then he spoke. They're not numbers, not cases. Anna still believes in promises. That's a miracle in itself. I'm not letting her lose that too. Janet pursed her lips. I'll make a recommendation to our placement board. In the meantime, they'll need to come with me. No, Jack said instantly. That's not. It's protocol. Behind him, the door creaked open. Anna stepped onto the porch. Please don't take us, she said. Her voice didn't shake. We'll be good. I'll help clean. We won't ask for anything else. Jack's hands curled into fists. Janet looked between them. I'll allow a 48-hour hold, she said finally. But expect follow-up. Then she turned and walked to her car. That night, Jack sat with the bent quarter again. Cody leaned in the hallway. She's gonna take them, isn't she? Jack didn't answer. Just like they took Aunt May away from you. Jack turned. I was a kid. I didn't know how to fight for her. Cody's voice cracked. But you do now, right? Jack looked down at the coin, then back to his son. Yeah, he said. Now I do. By morning, Jack had read every line of the kinship placement policy on the Texas Department of Family Services website. Twice. The printout sat on the kitchen table, now stained with coffee and smudged with grease from his hands. Across the room, Anna and Lily sat on the worn-out couch, watching cartoons without laughing. Cody had tried a few jokes, but they bounced off the silence like rubber balls against a stone wall. Jack rubbed his temples. The clock ticked loud in the quiet room. Janet Brooks would return today, and when she did, she might take them. No appeals. No discussion. Just procedure. Dad, Cody asked. Why don't you just say, no. Tell them they can't take the girls. Jack looked up. It doesn't work like that, bud. The law has its own path. But it's a dumb path. Jack cracked a tired smile. You're not wrong. There was a knock on the door. Sharp. On time. Janet stood there again, same gray coat, same expression. But this time she wasn't alone. A second woman followed behind her, shorter, rounder, with kind eyes and a badge clipped to her lanyard. Mr. Reamer Janet said curtly, "This is Donna Ruiz, case supervisor. She's here to observe." Jack nodded, stepping aside. The girls looked up. Lily shrank against Anna, who squeezed her hand tight. Cody stepped forward, instinctively standing between them and the door. Donna took in the room, the fireplace, the photo of Jack's late wife on the mantel. Her eyes paused on Cody, then on Jack. "You're a single parent?" she asked softly. "Yes, ma'am. Since my wife passed 4 years ago. Occupation former mechanic. Now part-time at the steel yard. I do side work when I can." Donna glanced at Janet, who was already flipping through papers on her clipboard. "And the girls?" Donna asked, kneeling to Anna's level. "Can you tell me your last name, Sweetie Weston?" Anna said, "Anna and Lily Weston. Do you remember where you were before coming here? A motel? It was called Golden Pines, I think. Mom said it was just for a little while. Then she got sick. I stayed with her, but she stopped waking up." Donna's voice gentled. "And then what happened? I waited. Then I left. Janet broke in. They were found at a gas station attempting to barter for milk. Mr. Reamer took them home without notifying authorities until the next morning. Jack stepped in. That's not accurate. I bought milk. Then I called first thing when I knew they were safe. And you're not certified to house foster children." "No," Jack admitted, "but I am capable, and I'm willing to do whatever's necessary to make it official." Donna looked at him for a long moment. "We have strict placement guidelines," she said. "Background checks, home studies references. It's a process." "I know. I'll do it. It can take weeks. I've got 48 hours. Janet crossed her arms. "We need to transport the girls today, Donna. This house isn't an approved temporary facility." Anna grabbed Lily and took a step back. "Please don't," she whispered. Jack crouched to them. "No one's going to hurt you." Donna's lips tightened. "Let's go outside. Talk this through." They stood near the old oak tree in Jack's yard, wind rustling dead leaves across the ground. "Do you know how many calls we get a week?" Donna said. "Hundreds. Maybe more. Abandoned kids, abused kids, runaways. Everyone wants to help until it's time to sign a form or make it legal. You're different." Jack kept quiet. She turned to him. "But you also have a juvenile record." He exhaled slowly. "Yes. I was a kid trying to keep my little sister from getting hit again. I did what I had to do." Donna studied his face. "Would you be willing to submit to a full home study?" "Yes. And drug tests, CPS checks, financial disclosure?" "Yes. All of it." She hesitated. "And if we decide you're not fit, I'll still fight for what's best for them." Back inside, Janet was speaking to the girls. "You'll go to a group home just for a little while. It's not scary, I promise." Anna didn't blink. "Will Mr. Jack be there?" "No, sweetie, but you'll make friends," Lily whispered. "We already have a friend." Janet sighed. "I'm sorry. It's not up to me." Donna returned, clearing her throat. "I'm overriding the order for now," she said. "Jack Reamer will be allowed to provide temporary shelter under emergency kinship status, pending a full review." Janet stiffened. "You can't, I just did." Anna blinked. "We can stay." Donna smiled. "For now." Jack turned to see Cody pumping his fist in the air behind the kitchen door. Anna's shoulders sagged in relief, and Lily wrapped her arms around her sister. As the caseworkers left, Jack looked down at the bent coin in his pocket. One promise at a time. The first night after Donna's decision, the house breathed easier. The tension had settled like a storm that had passed just enough to let in a little sun. Jack cooked chili that evening, his wife's old recipe with too much cumin, but still good enough to fill the kitchen with a comforting scent. Cody helped Lily set the table, while Anna folded napkins with the precision of a soldier preparing for inspection. It was a simple scene, but one Jack hadn't realized he missed until he was in the middle of it. He dished bowls of chili with cornbread on the side and watched as the three kids, his son and the two girls, sat down together. Cody cracked a joke about Max stealing food off the counter, and Lily let out a genuine giggle. For the first time, the girls weren't just surviving, they were starting to live again. But Jack didn't sit down with them. He stood by the kitchen sink, arms crossed, eyes drifting to the empty chair at the head of the table. It had been Mary's seat, his wife's. She used to joke that she was the general of the dinner table, commanding vegetable consumption with the force of a smile. Her absence had become furniture in the house, always there, even when no one talked about it. Anna's voice pulled him back. "Aren't you eating?" He cleared his throat. "I'll grab a bowl in a bit." But he didn't. Instead, after dinner, he found himself on the porch again, the old wooden boards groaning beneath him. The stars were soft above Falcon Ridge, barely blinking in the chilled sky. Max trotted out, curled up at his feet. Jack took the bent quarter from his coat pocket, turning it over in his fingers. The ridges were worn, and the surface was dulled by years of use and pressure. He didn't know why he kept carrying it. Maybe because it reminded him that promises still mattered, even the small, impossible ones. Cody stepped outside, a blanket wrapped around his shoulders. "You okay?" he asked. Jack nodded slowly. "Just thinking." Cody sat beside him. "You do that a lot lately?" Jack smirked. "Thinking's free. Might as well overdo it." They sat in silence for a moment, the wind cutting through the trees. Dad, Cody said, "You ever think about, what if we can't keep them?" Jack looked at his son. The fear in the boy's voice wasn't childish, it was sharp adult, the kind that came from understanding what it meant to lose something worth fighting for. "I think about it," Jack admitted. "But I also think about what kind of man I'd be if I didn't try." Cody nodded, then added, "I like them here. It feels less lonely." That broke something in Jack. He didn't show it, but his heart cracked a little wider. Not from sadness, but from clarity. He had been surviving too, just like the girls, just like Cody. The next morning, Jack got up early and called Ellen Briggs. He needed someone who could help him navigate what came next: certification, documentation, legal hoops. Ellen arrived an hour later, clutching a leather-bound planner and a strong cup of coffee. "I've already called a few people at county," she said without preamble. "They'll fast-track your background check, and I'll write the character reference myself." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You really think they'll approve me?" Ellen stared at him. "I've known men with spotless records who shouldn't be left alone with a houseplant." You've got flaws, sure, but you show up. That counts." He didn't know how to thank her, so he didn't. Just nodded and got to work cleaning out the garage for the home inspection. That afternoon, Anna and Lily helped Jack in the garage. The space was dusty and cluttered with old tools, boxes of engine parts, and a workbench that hadn't seen use in years. Anna found a jar of screws and sorted them by size. Lily drew pictures in the dust on the windows. Jack watched them, remembering how Mary used to do the same, pulling weeds in the garden, with Cody crawling behind her. "You used to fix cars here?" Anna asked. "Used to. Before everything changed." "You stopped?" Jack nodded. "Yeah. After Mary died, I lost the will. The shop got quiet. Too quiet." Anna didn't say anything for a while. Then she said, "Maybe it's not too late to start again." Jack looked at her. This kid. She'd lost more than most adults ever would, and she still believed in starting over. Maybe he could too. That night, after baths and books, Lily fell asleep hugging Max. Cody snored on the top bunk. Jack peeked in on the girls one last time. Anna was still awake, staring at the ceiling. "You okay?" he whispered. She nodded. I think this might be the first day I didn't feel scared." Jack swallowed the lump in his throat. "That's good." She looked at him. "You're not going to give us back, right?" He took her hand gently. "I don't give people back. I only build things that last." Her fingers curled around his. For the first time in years, the empty chair at the dinner table didn't feel so empty. Jack had just finished rearranging the garage shelves when he heard the sound of tires crunching gravel. He wiped his hands on a rag and stepped outside, heart already beating faster. A silver sedan bearing the state seal pulled up to the curb. The door opened, and Janet Brooks stepped out again in her regulation gray coat clipboard, in hand, lips pressed in a flat, unreadable line. But this time, she wasn't alone. A man in a brown tweed jacket followed her. He looked to be in his late 60s, with a calm, weathered face and a worn leather briefcase in hand. Jack stood straighter. "Morning." Janet offered a curt nod. "Mr. Reamer, this is Raymond Owens. He's a certified family court liaison assigned to observe this case going forward." Raymond extended his hand. "Mr. Reamer, just here to learn." Jack shook it. Firm grip, honest eyes. Janet didn't waste time. "We'll be conducting a formal home inspection today as part of the emergency kinship placement review." Jack stepped aside. "Come on in." Inside, the girls were at the table coloring. Cody was reading a dog-eared copy of Hatchet. Lily looked up and clutched a crayon tight when she saw Janet. Anna stiffened her eyes, shifting quickly to Jack. "It's okay," Jack said gently. "They're just here to talk." The visitors moved through the house with professional efficiency, checking bedrooms, inspecting the fridge-opening cabinets. Raymond took notes in a leather-bound notebook, occasionally asking simple human questions. How do the girls sleep? Do they help with chores? Have there been any behavioral concerns? Jack answered honestly. They sleep well now. Anna keeps an eye on Lily, but she's loosening up. Cody treats them like sisters. As for behavior, Anna has old eyes like she's lived 3 lifetimes already. But she's respectful, smart. Lily's quiet but joyful when she feels safe. Raymond nodded. Janet scribbled notes but said little. Then she asked a question that dropped like a stone in still water. "Where do you see this going?" "Mr. Reamer." Jack paused. "What do you mean? I mean, do you intend to care for them indefinitely? Or is this a temporary kindness?" Jack looked her in the eye. "I don't do kindness on timers." Raymond smiled faintly. Janet didn't. After the inspection, they sat on the porch, Max curling under the bench near Jack's feet. Raymond opened his briefcase and pulled out a thin folder. "Mr. Reamer, I've reviewed your file. Juvenile record financial instability in the years after your wife's death, modest current income. Not an ideal resume, legally speaking." Jack tensed, but Raymond continued. "We also saw your file from the VA." Jack blinked. "That wasn't part of the placement review." "No, but I added it. You served 2 tours, honorable discharge, volunteer mechanic for vet support. You've been giving more than you've been getting even before this." Janet raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. Jack cleared his throat. "I didn't do all that to impress anyone." "I know. That's why it impresses me," Raymond said. Then he leaned forward slightly. "The girls are still wards of the state. You're under emergency status, which means any incident, even a perceived risk, could revoke your right to shelter them. You understand that I do. Then you also understand you need support, a paper trail, community backing." Jack nodded slowly. "So what now? You start building. Show us this isn't a whim." Janet stood. "We'll submit our report within 72 hours. Expect a call." That evening, Jack sat at the kitchen table with Ellen, who'd come by with fresh bread and her usual storm of energy. "They're right," she said, flipping through a folder. "You need to build a case." Jack rubbed his forehead. "How I can't do this all alone." "You're not alone," she said firmly. "This town isn't perfect, but it's decent. You just have to ask." Jack sighed. "I hate asking." "Well," Ellen smiled. "Maybe it's time you let people return a little of what you've given." The next day, Ellen made calls. Jack updated the garage. Cody and Anna made signs, "Free Fix-It Day for kids and families." Saturday morning, people began showing up. First, just a few: a mom with a broken bike, an elderly man with a dead lawnmower. Then more. By noon, a dozen people milled around Jack's old shop, laughing, fixing, learning. Kids turned wrenches next to their parents. Ellen served lemonade. Cody taught a neighbor's son how to change oil. Anna organized tools. Lily handed out snacks, giggling with joy. Jack stood back, watching. His garage hadn't felt this alive in years. Raymond Owens showed up around 2, blending in, quietly observing without interfering. He watched as Anna helped a boy her age reassemble a skateboard truck, listened as Jack showed a teenage girl how to patch a tire, took notes as Cody offered water to an elderly couple. Before he left, he pulled Jack aside. "This," he said, "this is what placement boards want to see." Jack nodded, heart thudding. "You're not just housing them," Raymond continued. "You're rooting them." That night, Anna curled up on the porch swing beside Jack. "You think they'll let us stay?" "I think we're giving them every reason to," he said. She reached into her pocket and took out the bent quarter. "Still have it," she said. Jack smiled. "I was wondering where it went. I figured I should be the one to carry it, just in case I need to make another promise." Jack wrapped his arm gently around her shoulders. "Let's hope you don't." She leaned against him, quiet. The porch light buzzed softly above them. Inside, Cody read to Lily, their voices rising and falling in warm rhythm. And for a moment, just a moment, it felt like they had always belonged to each other. Sunday morning crept in soft and golden. Dew clung to the workshop windows, and birds called from the trees like it was spring, even though the air still bit with the edge of late winter. Jack stood alone in the garage, sleeves, rolled fingers smeared with grease. The old shop smelled like oil pine sawdust, and something faintly citrus from the cleaner Ellen had brought over the day before. Light streamed in through the window and landed on the workbench, now cleaned for the first time in years. He reached for a battered coffee can full of bolts and remembered the last time Mary stood beside him, helping him strip a lawnmower engine just for the fun of it. She'd worn overalls and had laughed when a bolt popped loose and nearly hit his forehead. "You're not invincible, Jack," she'd teased, leaning in to kiss the spot it missed. He swallowed the memory down and reached for his socket wrench. By mid-morning, Anna and Cody had joined him. Cody had a wrench in one hand and a smudge of oil across his cheek. "So how do we fix a seized carburetor?" he asked, half challenging. Jack smiled. "We start by not rushing it. You want something to run right. You respect what broke it." Anna, standing on a stool, sorted screws by size. "Everything has a reason, right?" Jack glanced at her. "Yeah, kiddo. That's true." The garage had become more than a space, it was breathing again. Not just a place to fix things, but a place to restore something harder to name. Word of Fix-It Day had spread further than Jack expected. The next weekend, nearly 20 people showed up. Some with broken tools, some with kids, others just curious. A few teens from the high school came by, and one of them, Miguel, asked if Jack would teach him how to change brake pads. "I can't afford shop class," he said, embarrassed. "But I need to fix my car so I can get to work." Jack handed him a pair of gloves and said, "Then let's get to it." Janet Brooks showed up that afternoon. No clipboard this time, no assistant, just her in jeans and a windbreaker standing awkwardly at the edge of the shop. Jack noticed her and nodded, but didn't interrupt what he was doing. Anna saw her too and froze for a second. But then, seeing Janet wasn't there to take anyone, she went back to organizing the socket set. Eventually, Janet stepped forward and leaned against a beam. "This is impressive," she said quietly. Jack looked up from under the hood of a pickup, didn't do it for applause. "I know," she paused, "but it's working." Jack didn't respond. Not immediately. Janet continued. Raymond's report was positive. Donna's too. "But there's still a process. And questions. I figured." She looked toward the porch where Lily and Cody were painting birdhouses. "They look like siblings. They feel like it." After a long silence, Janet said, "I used to believe that if you followed every rule, the system worked. But lately, I've started wondering if the rules forgot how people work." Jack met her eyes. "People don't fit in paperwork." Janet nodded. "No, they don't." Then she said something unexpected. I brought something. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a thin envelope. Inside was a photograph, a scanned image of the Weston girls' school records medical history, even a note from their mother written months before her death, scribbled on the back in a shaky hand. "If anything happens to me, please don't separate my girls." Jack held the note with reverence, as if it might tear in his hands. "I thought you should see it," Janet said. "Maybe it'll help." He looked at her. Then, not as an obstacle, but as someone also trying to do good in a broken system. "Thank you," he said quietly. That evening, Anna sat beside Jack on the porch swing again. "I heard Ms. Brooks talking," she said, "about paperwork and systems and stuff." Jack didn't lie. "It's still complicated." Anna nodded. "But we're trying right every day." She pulled something from her pocket, a small folded paper with a drawing of their family. Cody, Lily, Max, the dog, and Jack. She had written one word at the top. Home. "I made it at school," she said. "You think we can hang it on the fridge?" Jack smiled. "We'll put it right in the center." Later that night, Jack found himself staring at the bent quarter again. It sat now in a shallow dish on the nightstand next to his keys. He picked it up, felt its edges. A promise once made when there was nothing left to offer but hope. He remembered something Mary once told him in the garage years ago. Fixing engines is easy. Fixing hearts, that takes time and staying. He hadn't been able to stay for everyone in his life. But maybe he was learning to now. The courthouse in Falcon Ridge wasn't grand, just an aging red brick building with ivy clinging to its southern wall and a flag that flapped stiffly in the wind. But that Monday morning, it might as well have been the Supreme Court to Jack Reamer. He adjusted the collar of his second-best flannel, trying not to sweat. Cody sat beside him in a collared shirt and jeans that didn't quite match, swinging his feet nervously. Anna clutched a spiral-bound notebook in her lap like it was armor. Her sketch of home, the one with the stick figures and the bent quarter taped in the corner, peeked out from between the pages. Lily sat quietly between Ellen and Donna Ruiz, holding a stuffed bear someone at church had given her. Raymond Owens entered the room next and gave Jack a small, reassuring nod. "Keep steady," he said. "They don't just read facts, they read faces." Janet Brooks stood near the front of the small hearing room papers, in hand, lips set tight. She wasn't the enemy, not anymore, but Jack still felt a chill when she looked his way. She was thorough and cautious, and still held the weight of the system in her hands. The judge entered, a woman in her early 60s, sharp-eyed and composed. She looked like someone who had once been a schoolteacher and had long since stopped being impressed by tears. She reviewed the file slowly. "Mr. Reamer," she said, glancing over her glasses, "you've petitioned to become the emergency kinship guardian of Anna and Lily Weston. You understand this means legal responsibility pending further review, I do. You're not related by blood." "No, ma'am, but you've provided them shelter for the past several weeks." "Yes," she studied him. Why, Jack didn't blink, because no one else did. A pause. Then she motioned to Anna. "I understand the child has something she wants to say." Anna stood heart-pounding so loud Jack could almost hear it. She carried her notebook like it weighed 100 pounds and walked to the front of the room. I don't really know what to say. That sounds grown up," she began. The judge folded her hands. "Speak from your heart, Anna. That's often the most grown-up thing a person can do." Anna swallowed hard and opened the notebook. "This is my family," she said, pointing to the stick figure drawing. "That's me. That's Lily. That's Cody. That's Mr. Jack. That's Max, the dog." A faint smile spread across the judge's face. "My mom used to say family isn't always who you're born with. It's who stays. And when she got sick and didn't wake up, I thought, maybe we didn't have anyone who'd stay." She held up the bent quarter. I had this in my pocket when I asked for milk that night. I thought if I offered something, anything, people might listen. But no one did. Except Mr. Jack. He didn't laugh. He didn't say no. He just looked at me like I mattered. She paused, wiping a tear that slid down her cheek. He didn't give us a room. He gave us a home. I want to stay. Not because we're scared, but because we're safe. Silence filled the room like a held breath. The judge nodded once and said, "Thank you, Anna." Anna returned to her seat. Jack gently placed a hand on her back, steady and warm. The judge turned to the CPS representatives. Any objections? Janet stood. Her voice, clear and professional, lacked its usual steel. No objection, Your Honor. The department supports the current placement pending final certification. Donna added quietly. We recommend approval of temporary guardianship. The judge looked around the room one last time. I've seen children move through this system like luggage, names on paper, cases without faces. Today I saw a child with courage and a man with heart. Mr. Rimmer, I'm granting your request for emergency kinship guardianship. Full review to follow, but for now, the girls will remain in your care. Jack exhaled for the first time in what felt like days. Cody whooped before quickly clapping a hand over his mouth. Lily hugged her bear tighter. Anna turned and buried her face into Jack's shirt, and for once, she let herself cry. Outside the courthouse, the sun broke through clouds like a benediction. Raymond approached, shaking Jack's hand. You didn't just earn custody, he said. You earned trust. Jack looked at him. Now what? Now, Raymond said with a smile, you prove it every day. Ellen passed him a tissue box. You've got chili on your flannel, by the way. Jack chuckled. Course I do. As they walked back to the truck, Anna looked up at him. You think it'll always be this hard? Jack thought for a second. It'll be hard, yeah? But the things that matter usually are. She nodded, slipping her hand into his. The quarter remained in her pocket. But now it wasn't a currency of desperation. It was a token of something earned and returned. The wind began to shift early. Friday afternoon, slow at first, just a restless tug at the gutters, a ripple through the dry leaves that still clung stubbornly to the oaks. But by sundown, clouds rolled in fast and low, thick, with the kind of gray that meant trouble. Falcon Ridge hadn't seen a storm this size in 2 years. Jack stood on the porch, watching the sky bruise over. Cody was bringing in firewood. Anna helped close the chicken coop gate that had been added to the side yard. Lily held Max's collar as he barked into the wind, sensing the change before anyone else did. Then the call came. Donna Ruiz's voice crackled over the line. Jack, the group shelter in Midland lost power. The grid's overloaded, and there are still 10 kids under our care inside. We're relocating them temporarily. Jack's pulse quickened. You need help. We could use transport. But more than that, we need space. How many for? Just overnight. Maybe 2 days. Anna and Lily will stay classified under your care, but I'm asking you off the record. Can you take a few more? Jack didn't even hesitate. Yes, of course. By 9:00 p.m., the storm had arrived in full howling wind, sheets of rain, lightning bright enough to paint the trees, white for a second at a time. Jack's living room became a makeshift camp. The girls, 3 teenagers, and a boy barely older than Lily, were huddled under blankets with cocoa in mismatched mugs. Anna took charge like a little general, passing out towels and peanut butter sandwiches. Cody ran the flashlights showing one of the older boys how to build a tower of pillows to distract Lily from the thunder. Jack moved between rooms like a conductor, holding chaos at bay. And yet for all the noise and tension, the house felt strangely alive, buzzing with the warmth of people who needed each other. At midnight, the power flickered, then went out completely. Jack sighed, lit the emergency lantern, and passed it around. "We'll ride it out," he said, as if speaking to a room full of kids in a storm was something he did every weekend. One of the teenage girls, Brenda, maybe 14, asked, "Why do you even do this?" Jack paused, meeting her eyes. "Because somebody once looked out for me when they didn't have to. I'm just paying it forward." She nodded, curled deeper under her blanket, and whispered, "I hope I get to do that someday." Sometime after 2 a.m., the front door burst open. A figure in a raincoat stepped in, soaked to the bone. Janet Brooks. "Jack," she said, panting, "I need to talk to you. Alone." He led her into the kitchen, flickering lantern light casting long shadows on the walls. She wrung out her sleeves. "I just came from county dispatch. There's been a policy shift, state orders. All non-licensed homes must evacuate emergency minors within 24 hours. That includes you." Jack stared. Even the ones already under emergency guardianship, they're reconsidering the definition. There's legal movement around federal liability, and I don't agree with it, but I can't stop it. If someone gets hurt while placed informally during a natural disaster. She trailed off. "I've got a house full of kids," Jack said. "Good kids. You want me to send them out into a hurricane?" Janet looked down. "I'm not here to enforce it. I'm here because I knew you'd say no." "Then why come at all? Because I'm supposed to report you." "But I won't." Jack narrowed his eyes. "You'd lie for me." "No, I'll tell the truth that you followed your heart, that you kept them safe, that you gave them shelter when the system stalled." They stood there, thunder booming in the background. "You used to believe in the system," Jack said softly. "I still do," she replied. "But only when it remembers who it's built for." By sunrise, the wind had quieted. The rain thinned to a mist. Inside, the kids were still asleep. Bodies sprawled on couches wrapped in blankets, faces peaceful in a way that only comes after fear is met with kindness. Jack stood by the window, a mug of coffee in his hand, and watched the sky turn pale. Anna patted in hair-tousled voice, groggy. "You stayed up all night." "Yeah," Jack said. "Someone had to keep the lights on even if they weren't real ones." She smiled faintly, then looked out the window. "The storm's gone." "For now," Jack said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the bent quarter, handed it to her. Anna blinked. "Why are you giving it back?" "Because you already paid." Jack said. "Not with money. With faith. That was the real cost. And the biggest gift." Anna held the coin in her palm, staring at it like it was made of gold. "I think I want to give it to someone else someday," she whispered. "Someone who needs to believe again." Jack nodded. "That's exactly how you keep it going." That evening, Donna returned to collect the children who'd been temporarily sheltered. Brenda hugged Jack tight. "I'll remember this house forever." Lily gave her stuffed bear to the boy named Evan. "He's good at being brave," she said. As the car pulled away, Jack stood on the porch with Max watching until the taillights vanished into the dusk. Anna joined him, her hand still curled around the coin. "Is it always like this?" she asked. Jack glanced at her. "Like what?" "This much. Heartache. And hope." He smiled, weary but sure. "Yeah. But that's how you know it matters." By mid-March, the Fix-It Safe House had taken on a life of its own. What had started as a half-empty garage now bustled every Saturday, with people of all ages, fathers teaching sons how to change a tire, mothers rebuilding broken fans, teens learning wiring and soaring like it was alchemy. Jack had rigged a whiteboard near the front workbench with the words, "We fix what's broken. Machines, people promises." And someone no one knew who had taped a photocopy of Anna's drawing underneath. It had become their unofficial emblem. The story of the storm had spread. A local news channel had picked it up after a neighbor filmed the candlelit chaos from the front porch. It aired one quiet evening, Nothing flashy, just footage of kids helping each other, a dog asleep in a sleeping bag, Jack handing out mugs of cocoa in a flannel shirt that had seen better days. The anchor's closing line had struck a chord across the county. In Falcon Ridge, one single dad said yes to a promise, and in doing so, lit a fire of hope in the middle of a storm. Jack didn't like the attention, but the result that he could live with. Donations began arriving: tools, blankets, canned food. One anonymous donor even offered a used minivan. Ellen joked it was starting to feel like Jack was running the town's emotional FEMA, but Jack knew something deeper was happening. It wasn't just the fix-it days. It was how the community had started looking at each other again. Not as strangers passing through hardship, but as part of something worth saving. One Saturday, as Jack was cleaning up after the last session, Anna walked in holding something behind her back. "Can I show you something?" she asked. Jack smiled. "Always." She pulled out a small wooden plaque she'd made at school. The letters were painted by hand, uneven, but bold. Promise paid. Below it she had glued the bent quarter. Jack stared at it, heart thudding softly. "You sure?" he asked. "That quarter's been through a lot." Anna nodded. "But it's done its job." She pointed to the wall just beside the whiteboard. "I think it belongs there." Jack crouched and nailed it in place with care. When he stepped back, the kids gathered behind him and started clapping. And he couldn't help it, and he wiped his eyes on his sleeve and laughed through the tears. That night, as the house settled into its usual hum, Max snoring by the door, Lily asleep in a tent of pillows, Cody still up rereading The Hobbit. Anna lingered at the kitchen table. She had a pencil and a new notebook, open, pages filled with half-sentences, eraser marks, and one line at the top: "Letters I'll send when I'm grown." Jack sat across from her, sipping tea. "What are you writing?" he asked. Anna didn't look up. "Letters to people I want to thank, even if they're not here anymore." He nodded slowly. "That's a beautiful thing to do." She paused. "Do you think, if my mom could see us now, she'd be proud?" Jack reached across the table and gently squeezed her hand. "I think she'd be proud of how much of her live's in you." Anna's voice wavered. "Sometimes I still think I hear her, like when the wind whistles through the trees. It's silly." "No," Jack said. "It's not silly at all." Some voices echo deeper than memory. She smiled softly and returned to her page. A few days later, Donna Ruiz dropped by with news. "Good news," she said, setting a folder on the kitchen table. "Final review approved. You've been granted long-term kinship guardianship." Jack exhaled like someone who'd been holding his breath for weeks. Donna grinned. "It's official. Anna and Lily are yours, as long as you want them." Jack looked at the two girls who stood frozen in the doorway. "Forever sound okay to you?" Lily ran to him first. Anna followed more quietly, but when she wrapped her arms around Jack's waist, she didn't let go for a long time. That evening, the family gathered for dinner. Cody insisted on grilling burgers in the backyard, even if it was still a little too cold. Ellen brought over homemade apple pie. Raymond Owens even stopped by with a bottle of sparkling cider. They lit candles not because they needed to, but because sometimes joy deserves a ceremony. After dinner, Jack stood up and tapped his glass. "I'm not much for speeches," he said, voice slightly hoarse. "But if you had told me 6 months ago that I'd be here with more kids, more laughter, more life, I wouldn't have believed you." He looked around at the faces now, so familiar, so essential. "I didn't fix you," he continued, looking at Anna. Then Lily. "You fixed me. You made me remember what it means to say yes when the world tells you to look away." Cody raised his glass. To saying yes, they all echoed. Yes. Later, Anna took Jack aside and placed something small in his hand, a new quarter. This one wasn't bent. It shone bright, fresh from a roll. I found this one in change from the grocery store, she said. It's for the next promise. When it comes. Jack looked at the coin, then at her. You think someone else out there might need it? She nodded. Someday, someone will ask. And we'll be ready. Spring settled over Falcon Ridge, with a quiet kind of confidence, daffodils pushing through thawed soil, birds returning in song, and days finally long enough to let kids play outside, until dinner. The Fix-It safe house had expanded. Jack had turned the back half of the garage into a proper learning corner, old school desks, salvaged from a closed-down district office, a chalkboard mounted between tool racks, a corkboard filled with community job postings, scholarships, and handwritten thank you notes from kids who had found more than just bolts and bearings in Jack's shop. One letter simply read, Jack, I didn't think men like you existed. Now I want to be one too. Jack kept that one pinned above the light switch right next to Anna's drawing and the mounted plaque with the bent quarter. On a quiet Thursday, Jack found Anna on the porch after school, legs folded beneath her notebook in hand. He stepped out, wiping his hands with a rag. Writing again, Anna smiled. Almost finished. Your letter project? She nodded. This one's for me. Jack sat beside her. What do you mean I decided to write a letter to my future self, just in case? One day, I forget where I came from. Jack tilted his head. That's wise beyond your years. Anna looked out over the yard where Lily was drawing flowers with sidewalk chalk. I don't ever want to forget what it felt like to be seen, to matter. Jack didn't speak. He didn't need to. Anna turned to him and said, I think I know what I want to be when I grow up. Yeah, a promise keeper. Jack chuckled. There's no degree for that. Good, she said. Means I'll be the only one. Later that week, the town held its annual community day. A potluck, a little music, a lot of folding chairs and sunburns. This year, the town council gave Jack a certificate for unwavering dedication to community and compassion. It was just paper in a cheap frame, but when Ellen handed it to him, Jack stood awkwardly for a second, then muttered, Guess I'm official now. Cody leaned in, grinning. Can I call you Captain Community? No, Jack said flatly, but he was smiling. The best part of the day wasn't the award. It was when Anna and Lily took the stage during the open mic portion hand in hand and sang a simple tune they'd written together about finding home in unexpected places. Lily's voice was soft, unsure, but Anna's carried it. Not perfectly, but honestly. And the whole town listened, some with smiles, some with tears. But no one looked away. Afterward, Jack sat on the edge of the stage legs, dangling like he was 10 years old. Anna joined him. She pulled something from her jacket pocket, a folded note. I want you to read this later, she said. Jack raised an eyebrow. Why later? Because you'll cry. And I don't want everyone seeing it. He laughed. Fair enough. Back home, once the girls were asleep and Cody was finishing homework, Jack unfolded the note. It read, Dear Mr. Jack, I used to think promises were made to be broken. But now I think promises are something you grow into. You didn't owe me anything, but you gave me everything: warmth, safety, a place to believe again. You made me feel like a person, not a problem. So here's my last promise. I'll make other people feel that way too. And one day, when someone hands me a bent quarter and says, I promise to pay when I grow up, I'll say, you already have. Love, Anna. Jack sat with the letter for a long time, the words heavy in his chest in the best possible way. He pressed it flat, folded it carefully, and tucked it into the back of his wallet. Then he walked out to the garage, switched off the lights, and just stood there for a moment, listening to the silence which no longer felt empty. It felt earned. The next morning, Lily burst into the kitchen barefoot and beaming. Anna says we should plant a tree. Jack looked up from his coffee. Does Anna know trees are a long-term commitment? Anna strolled in behind her. So are families. Jack set his mug down. Let's do it. They picked a spot in the front yard near the corner of the fence. Cody dug the hole while Jack helped steady the sapling. Anna held the bent quarter in her hand and kissed it before burying it at the base of the roots. It belongs here, she said, where everything new begins. Jack looked at the little tree, thin, hopeful reaching. He had no doubt it would take root, just like them. Summer came to Falcon Ridge slowly, as it always did. Golden evenings, the smell of cut grass cicadas buzzing like tiny violins in the heat. The tree in Jack's front yard stood straighter now. It hadn't grown much yet, just a few more leaves and a stronger trunk, but it looked proud, like it knew it was wanted. And in many ways, it symbolized them all, rooted, resilient, and still reaching. It had been 6 months since the day Anna and Lily walked into that gas station. 6 months since a little girl had offered a bent quarter in exchange for milk and hope. Jack still carried a copy of the news article in his glove box, not out of pride, but as a quiet reminder that small moments matter, that sometimes a whisper of kindness could echo louder than any shout. The Fix-It Safe House had grown into a community hub. There were volunteers. Now, retirees, teachers, even a few older teens who'd once been on the other side of the counter. The town had approved a small grant, and someone had even designed a logo, a silhouette of a wrench crossed with a heart wrapped in a ribbon that read, "Fixing what matters." But more than the shop, more than the stories or the attention, it was the rhythm of daily life that made Jack most grateful. One evening, Jack stood on the porch, sipping sweet tea, while Max lay beside him snoring softly. Inside, Cody was helping Lily bake cookies, well, mostly making a mess. Anna was at the kitchen table, her head bent over a stack of homework pencil tapping to the rhythm of focus. The porch light above Jack buzzed to life. He didn't remember installing a timer. Maybe Cody had figured it out. Or maybe Jack thought sometimes lights just knew when they were needed. The screen door creaked, and Anna stepped out, her face lit by the soft glow. "Hey," she said. "Hey," Jack replied. She leaned on the railing beside him. "I got my essay back today." "Yeah, A+. Jack grinned. "Nice. What was the topic?" "A time someone kept a promise." Jack raised his eyebrows. "Let me guess." "You obviously," Anna said, then smirked, "though I made you sound taller." Jack chuckled. "I'll take the upgrade." Anna looked out at the yard, the little tree waving in the breeze. "You know what's weird? I barely remember the motel, or what the old place smelled like. But I remember the porch light here. I remember how it looked the night you opened the door and didn't ask for anything back." Jack was quiet for a moment. Then he said it wasn't a hard decision. It was for others. He nodded. "Yeah, but not for me." Anna reached into her pocket and pulled out something new, a small wooden token she'd carved in school. On one side, a heart. On the other, "Keep the promise." "It's for you," she said. Jack took it, fingers curling around the gift like it was made of glass. "Thank you," he said softly. Later that night, after the kids had gone to bed, Jack sat in the living room and picked up an old photo of Mary. Her eyes still had that mischievous sparkle, as if she were about to tease him for leaving the laundry in the washer again. "I kept it," he whispered. The promise to stay soft, even in the hard years. The house filled with the slow creak of settling wood, and breathing children answered him with silence, the kind that wraps around you, not the kind that hollows out your chest. The next weekend, a young woman showed up at the garage during Fix-It hours. She was about 19, wearing a hoodie 2 sizes too big, holding a bicycle with a broken chain. She didn't speak much. Jack helped her fix it anyway. Before she left, she pulled something from her pocket, a beat-up, slightly bent coin. "I know it's not enough," she said, "but I'm trying." Jack took the coin in both hands, studied her face. "It's more than enough," he said. "It's a start." He walked to the wall and added her coin just below Anna's plaque. A second promise. Another echo in the long hallway of hope. That night, Jack returned to the porch. The wind was light, the stars patient. He didn't need to speak, didn't need to pray. He just sat, letting the quiet of what he'd built hold him. A family born not of blood, but of choice. A home built not by walls, but by welcome. And a future shaped not by perfect plans, but by imperfect people who chose each other anyway. If this story touched your heart, even just a little, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments. Where in the world are you watching from? Your presence here means more than you know.